In 300 years, I think our descendants will look back at us and laugh. They'll look and say, wow, those guys were conditioned to be robots. And that's exactly what I hope we are able to solve. Okay, let's do this. All right. Over the summer, my grandmother came to visit me from the Middle East, and she had a stroke. It was hard because she doesn't really have much family here, and it meant that a lot of us had to move around and change our lives to be able to help her out. Especially one of my aunts who had to come from the Middle East to basically care for her full time, as she couldn't care for herself. I've been trying to visit my grandmother as much as I can, but there's been some real challenges for me to even break out of the daily routine, to peel away from my job and my obligations, and just really be present there to help her out, put a smile on her face, and just try to be there for her, even without the crushing amounts of work, and just trying to get by in my day-to-day. Even just going to try to help her out raises some feelings in me where I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that I should probably be working or doing something productive. And I think that's really sad. I think that's really challenging. And I think that that's something that a lot of people feel across North America and probably in some parts of Europe as well, where we effectively have been kind of conditioned in this output culture where we are just always trying to be more productive. You only have to go on YouTube to try to see how many people are trying to life hack you into more productivity, getting more output, doing more things, right? Becoming more efficient. And it puts a lot of strain on us. It puts a lot of strain on our ability to be human. And it's like we've even forgotten what it is to be a human. I know some of my colleagues at work say that they feel bad when they take breaks. They feel that they always need to be on, always need to be checking their phones. They always need to be checking their emails. And that kind of means that we never just have any time for ourselves. And more importantly, trying to be this overproductive, highly efficient, and highly output-oriented individual that takes away from a lot of the joys of life. We have folks like J.D. Vance saying that empathy is a weakness. Generally, we find emotion to be a problem. We call people emotional, and that's kind of a bad thing. We're trying to remove emotion from our life. I'm not emotional. I don't make emotional decisions. I'm very logical, even though most of the time you're just hiding your emotion under the guise of logic, and you're still making decisions purely based on emotion. But that's kind of the society that we're living in currently, where we're not allowed to feel. We suppress our feelings. You have to stiff upper lip it. You got to have Herculean resolve. You have to show up to work perfectly ready to produce every day. We've kind of removed, some of the most important parts of existence that give us meaning, and that's painful. We are all looking for meaning in this grandiose way, that we're trying to find meaning in career success or in glory. But most of human history has been extremely unglorious. Most people are unknown, and most people have lived lives that you would have never heard of. Lives of family, lives of kinship, lives of community, lives of togetherness. And it's in these social bonds that you build through caring for one another, through helping each other out, that you actually experience a deeper level of meaning. And right now it's all gone because the state has taken over any aspect of care that we need to have. The whole construction is for us to produce more. The whole social construction is for us to produce more. You have schools. What are schools for? They don't teach your kids anything. Yeah, they teach your kids how to socialize, but that's not directionally what they're trying to do. They're really just there for the state to take care of your kids while you go to work. Same with daycare. Same with home care and retirement homes. They're supposed to be there so you don't have to take care of your parents or your grandparents. So you can just spend more time working rather than actually connecting with your children and with your parents or grandparents. The economy has crowded our ability to even have that empathy, have that willingness to even show up and develop that level of care and love for our community and for our kin that we don't even know how it feels. And we know that this is bad for us. We know because we all numb this huge hole that exists within us with technology. We work way too much, live paycheck to paycheck, and feel this economic insecurity that permeates throughout our existence. And instead of actually having the capacity and time and the mental and emotional bandwidth to be able to invest in our relationships, invest in our community and in our loved ones, we disconnect. We numb ourselves. We numb ourselves through social media, Netflix, etc., because it actually calms and quiets the sirens that are coming from within us about how much we are missing this level of connection and community. But let me tell you this, just because you have numbed it doesn't mean it's going away. It's still there. It's still within us. Human connection is a universal value, seen in all societies at all times. It's a fundamental part of who we are. And it's diametrically opposed to the economic condition that is being imposed on us right now. We can look back in history to see similar situations in which technology has maybe been a huge helper for us in these aspects. I'll give you an example. In 1894, London had a manure problem. It had actually what was called the horse manure crisis of 1894. There was so much shit on the streets because of all the horses, they didn't know what to do with it. They had meetings and town halls and they were trying to rack their brains around what the hell they were trying to do in this crisis. And the solution no one would have thought of, it was the car. The car was able to solve the horse manure crisis in other major cities around the world. And I see a lot of similarities here. We're in this economic condition that has crowded our ability to even feel emotions, to even develop relations where we can experience those emotions with the people that we love. I think technology will be able to solve this for us, where we can be able to delegate a lot of our mundane jobs, which many of us don't really like, and I'll get into that in another video, and be able to then invest and have the bandwidth and the time to cultivate relations of meaning with the people that we love. In 300 years, I think our descendants will look back at us and laugh. They'll look and say, wow, those guys were conditioned to be robots. And that's exactly what I hope we are able to solve. Back to my grandmother. My relationship with my grandmother was always one of a visitor. We would go visit her at her home, we would have lunch, dinner, little chats, and then we would leave. There wasn't this lived experience where she took care of me or I took care of her. We didn't coexist. We didn't have these mundane, day-to-day experiences where we grew together, lived together, experienced things together. That left a huge hole in me that I didn't realize until I started caring for my grandma. I started feeding her, washing her, combing her hair, and something came over me. It was in this care, it was in accessing this wavelength of care that I actually started to develop a deeper, more profound relationship with my grandmother. I started developing this sense of love and meaning that I didn't even know I had. And she wasn't just a visitor in my life, and I was a visitor in hers, but we were actually connected together in care. And I've never felt more close to my grandmother, even though she can't even speak, than when I actually have been caring for her in these last couple of months. That's really what is existing right now, is that we're removing meaning from our life, which is developed from the relationships that we have with other people, the people that we love, the people that are close to us, so that we can produce more economically. But let me tell you this, just because something is not measurable with KPIs, GDP, productivity per person, dollars and cents, just because it's not measurable, doesn't mean it's not important.